Boys and girls, welcome back to another epic tutorial on my YouTube channel. In this one, I'm showing you just the data types that exist in JavaScript. So these are all of the data types. Let's see, there are 7 data types, and this is symbol, not symbols. So I'm going to be writing, just experimenting with them, playing around, writing some variables with them, and we'll see how this goes. Let's see number. What does this number data type cover? What types of data can you store in a number type of variable? So let me just declare, or let me first of all just tell it that you can store integers like 5 or 500. That's the number of girls I have. And you can also store decimal numbers like 5.5, etc. So let's say I declare a number, a variable with the let number. Let's call it number and assign it a value. Give it a value of 5. That's very legal to do in JavaScript. Also, now just to check if the data type is of type number, let me just do a console log, which is of course this variable declared here. This is just a console log, but for short. And to print out the data type of this variable, you just need to call a function which is type of and pass it your variable, which is number in my case. So if I now do node subscribe.js, I get this number variable, and I probably should have zoomed in a little bit on this text, but nevertheless. So also you can store you can store decimal numbers, and if I do oops and I didn't print out this, let me just come back. Let's give it a decimal value of 5.5, and if I now print again the number, and this is probably confusing, so let's call it just a num, because you get all these numbers printed out. So if I run my code now, I have my num variable here, and I just print out the type of my num variable, which is number. So I can store basically integers and both decimal numbers. So let's now go with the string variable. By the way, I'll probably have a video up next. The next video probably would be working with strings. Now if I console log, or if I, first of all, what is a string? A string is just basically some text, so you can store here text in quotes. So let me be shown by example. I will do just a let variable again, and let's say I want to store a name, and that's why I'll call my variable name and give it a value of, let's say, some name. And this is, whoops, and I get an error for some reason. Not redeclare. I haven't redeclared this variable, but let's say name 1. I don't know, for whatever reason it gives me this error, but I have declared here my name variable, which is, or my name 1 variable, and this is basically how you assign it a value of the data type string. You just write these quotes, and inside you add in your text. You can of course have here some mail, for example, or some other things. And if you print out now this variable, or if you actually print out the type of this variable, and remember we do this by saying type of and then name 1, and then if I just clear up the console a little bit, then just do node subscribe, then I get this string printed out. So this means that this variable is of type string. Then we've come to the third data type, which is Boolean. And Boolean, you can declare it the same way. Usually you would do something like, let's say, is done. This is usually at least how I call my Boolean variables, and give it, by the way, with Boolean you can only assign values like true or false to variables of Boolean data type. So this can be only true or false if it's of course of type Boolean. If I assign it a value like this, then it's going to be a string. This is going to be of data type string because I have assigned it a string type of variable. Now if I do a console type of, and then in the parameters I say is done, and then I run my file, I get a string. But what if I remove the quotes? And now if after removing the quotes, if I now just print out, I'll get Boolean. Also, this can also you can also assign it a value of true. If I now again print out or run the code, I'll get the type Boolean printed out. Let's see what the fourth data type is, which is null. Null is basically when you explicitly give it, you say, hey, I don't want to have this variable doesn't have to have any value. So let's just say surname, and instead of giving it, let's say, some surname here, a string data type of survey, I just say null. And what does this mean? That this variable called surname is not going to have a value. So with null, it's important for you to know that you're explicitly giving it a value of null. So you're explicitly saying that this variable surname will not have a value. So, and now if you, let's say again the same thing, type of surname, I think I'm already boring with this, but if I now print out, this is basically of type object, but we say no. Now onto the fifth data type. The fifth data type is undefined. It's tightly correlated with the null data type, but it's different. So here, if I, let's say, declare a variable, and let's give it, let's say, person, and give it again some name value, or let me just now, before this variable is declared, let me now try to print it out, and you'll see where I'm going with this. If I now try to print out the person variable before I have initialized it or declared it, and if I now first of all clear this console, and if I run the code, I get undefined. And that's basically the undefined data type. In the previous video, if you have watched it, where I talk about the difference between var and let keyword, I tell you that if you declare variables with the var keyword, and they get a value of undefined even before they are declared. So here I can access, or I can print out rather, the person value, but this is of type undefined because it was not declared. If I print out, if I move this printing of the person value here after the declaration, and now if I print out, then I get some name printed out. Then we've come to the fifth data type, doesn't really matter. So now an object. So we already saw that null is already an object, and basically everything that has a methods that you can use methods on, it's an object. So what do I mean by this? Let's say just declare again with the let keyword, let's say object, and I can basically create object in two ways. This is the first one with just these parentheses, and the object is basically a variable with more or a few or however you want key value pairs. And let's just say this object represents a person. Let's give it a more meaningful name. And now I will just say name, and this name is the key. And now I want to give it a value. Remember, this is a key value pair I'm doing, the first key value pair. Name, then give it this dots, and then I say some name. And this is basically my object. I can add another key value pair. By the way, this is one key value pair with name being its key and then some name being its value. Then I actually separate all of my key value pairs with a comma. Then I give it a comma there, and I want to first of all, of course, say surname, and this is the key, remember? And now the value of this key will be surname. And basically now if I, let's say, print out the type of actually type of person, because person is my object, and hopefully this is recording because damn. And now if I run the code, I get an error for some reason. Oh, it's because I have person here as well. So now if I run the code, I get object, and ignore this print statement. I get object because this is of type object. Even before I had contents of this object, I would have, of course, again get a object data type. Again, in the second way you create an object is with the new keyword, and what you need to do is just say new object in these parentheses. And if I now print out again, I'll get the same things. And with the last and the most boring of all of them, which is symbol. I don't know why would you use this, but you can create it like this, symbol 1, let's say. And this is a primitive type. And what's the difference between primitive and object types and not primitive types? The difference is on objects you can use methods. So on objects, I didn't actually mention this, but let me just go back again. And now I can, instead of doing only key value pairs like this, name and saying some name, I can also give it with a comma separated. I can also give it some methods. So let's say here I have some func, which is function, stands for function, and I can give it a function like this. And I probably need to give it a name or whatever, but the thing or the point I'm trying to make is, trying to illustrate, is that on objects you can use methods, but on primitive types you cannot. And now I want to create a new symbol with the, and I created one with the new keyword, and I say symbol like this. So basically it's the same as creating an object. You don't create it with the new keyword, but only like this without the new keyword. That was a mistake on my part. Because it's not an object, you don't use new. And by the way, these are unique. Even if I create it again like this, let's say symbol 2, and I just once again say symbol, these are not the same. These are unique symbol. This symbol 1 is different from symbol 2. And you can see that if I do an if statement and say symbol 1 is symbol 1 equal to symbol 2, and if it is, just print out that it's the same, and if it's not, let me just print out it's not the same. Now if I print out we get if I run the code, I get it's not the same printed out. So that's basically all I have to say for variables. This should be a quick video, and stay tuned for the next one because we are going to probably be working with strings.